Hey there, welcome back to the Schwowin's Nest, where I turn thrift store finds into stunning luxury home decor on a budget. It's time for another episode of Timber Tuesday. Today I'm transforming ordinary, overlooked wooden trash into elegant statement pieces you'll love to show off in your home. So if you're ready for some budget-friendly inspiration, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get crafting. My first project is this nice cutting board. I love the shape of it. It was $6 at the thrift store, but I always get 20% off. So once I take this tag off, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm not going to paint it. I'm not staining it. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm going to be adding some of these stamps that I think will look really pretty because I'm going to use white ink instead of black. These are the IOD crockery stamps. I did invest in those a couple of years ago, and I'm very glad I did because even though they're a little bit on the expensive side, if you take care of them, you've got them for life. So it's an investment, but I feel it's well worth it. This ink is just Craft Smart ink. It's from Michaels. I've tried more expensive inks, but I don't think there's any difference between a $8 ink or a $20 ink. So invest in the stamp, but then use the more inexpensive inks. Since these stamps are a large size, you have to use two hands. So I'm holding it down with one hand and then pressing very gently with the other hand, making sure that I don't move or wiggle the stamp, and then lift it straight up. Instead of getting out paint and a brush, while I've got my ink pad out, I'm going to use that to go around the edges and give it more of a weathered look. It's going to make everything look put together and finished. For a simple final touch, I'm going to be adding some twine around the handle, and I'll add a few little sprigs of lavender and greenery. I love how this one turned out, and it looks great in my new TV room. On this day when I was thrifting, I was looking for specifically some wood items, and I came across this kid's stool. I thought it was the neatest thing. I had never seen anything like this before, probably homemade, and I'll show you what it does after. It did cost $8.50, but with 20% off, it was a steal. I really love how it looks. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is just cleaning it. I use some acetone sometimes. This is just full strength nail polish remover, and that tends to get off all of the fingerprints, the gunk, any oils or anything like that. So if you don't have something like Crud Cutter, you can definitely just use nail polish remover as long as you know that it's going to be okay on your project. Make sure you test a little spot first, somewhere where you can't see it. These were little stickers, at least I thought they were stickers, but they just didn't come off. So I'm not going to worry about them. I'm going to just paint right over them. I thought this was so cute how it changes shape. So you can use it as a little chair with a back on it, or you can use it as a step stool. Very sweet. I'm going to be painting it with a couple of coats of Fusion Mineral Paint in the color White Lace. Once it was completely dry, I took some rough grit sandpaper and I am sanding it and giving it more of a distressed look. But this is something that's totally personal and optional, of course. I love everything distressed, so that's why I'm doing this. But you could definitely leave it solid white. And here's how I styled it. Another thing that I'm always on the lookout for at thrift stores are wooden shelves. This one had 6 of those gold coat hooks on it. I'm not going to be using the coat hooks at all, so I removed them. And now I'm going to just fill them with this drywall compound, which is DAP Drydex. It's the one that's pink and then dries white. All the products that I'm using in this video will be listed in my Amazon store in one category for this particular video, and I'm going to have that link listed for you down in my description box. While I wait for the spackling to dry, I'm going to take the same paint that I had for the stool, which is Fusion Mineral Paint in the color White Lace, and I'm going to just do the bottom portion of this. I decided to leave the top shelf itself in the regular pine color. Now, this is also something that's homemade, and I think these products are just so unique. When you find something like this at the thrift store, it's just so fun to take something that someone else has lovingly created and turn it into something stunning. Now that the spackling is dry, I'm going to take fine grit sandpaper and go over it really well, but very gently because I don't want to take it too much off. What I'm looking for here is to make sure that I don't have any rough edges or anything that will show up when I paint. Now I'm going to give this bottom portion a coat of white paint as well, but I did need to go over all of this twice with my paint. This piece was completely raw wood. There was no finish on it, so I decided that I wanted to do a clear coat on the top. You can see that it is yellowing just a little bit, but that's what pine does, and I was okay with that. It does lighten up a little bit once it's dry. This is Minwax polyurethane in clear satin. It is an oil-based. It just happens to be what I had out for the moment, and I already had this brush being used for it, so I decided I'll just continue on with that. You can use any type of sealer that you have, even Mod Podge would do the trick, just to give this a little bit of a coating on it so it doesn't get easily scratched. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I love printing on tissue paper. The only thing is when you want something large like this, you're going to have to print it double like I did here. So I will have this linked for you in my description box. It's going to be a free printable on my website, and I'm going to have it like this, but I'm also going to have it in a smaller size. So all you have to do is just resize it for the project that you need. This is the easy Mod Podge method. So all you've got to do is put some Mod Podge on the project and then place your tissue paper on top. Once the Mod Podge has dried underneath, you can go ahead and give the tissue paper on the top another thin coat just to protect it. I like to use my fingers to gently press down the tissue paper into the Mod Podge, but just make sure you're not pushing too hard. I am going to be using the brush around the edges just to make sure that it all blends in seamlessly. And if you can tell, I did cut my words down a little bit closer to the inked portion. That just helps it to disappear right into the white paint. I love how this shelf turned out, and I styled it with some of my antique finds from the thrift stores. This definitely turned out as a trash to stunning treasure. This is a wheelbarrow that I created a few years ago using some spindles and fence boards. I'm going to make it over because I'm tired of how it looks right now. It's very beat up because it's just been sitting in my craft room and it's just been taking up space. And I thought, you know what? This is perfect for what I have in mind. So I'm giving it a fresh coat of paint. This is Parchment by Craft Smart. You can see it's a creamy white color, and I'm going to be doing that just on the portions that are white. Using a small brush and some antiquing wax, I'm just going around the edges to make it look like it's distressed a little bit, but I wanted to bring out the brown of the spindles and kind of make it look a little bit put together more, I guess you could say. And I really like how the brown brought it all together. I have some really beautiful sort of French country farmhouse stamps, and I thought this one with the bird would be beautiful on the side of the wheelbarrow. So I'm just going to ink it up with some black ink. Again, this is from Michaels. It's not expensive ink, but it's a beautiful color. The stamp fit almost perfectly on the side here. And again, holding it in place and just using your finger to rub it. And then I just ended up grabbing it like that and pressing it against, and that worked out great. Now, the ink that I used kind of was a little faded and almost had a bit of a dark blue tinge to it. I thought it was perfect. I loved how that turned out. So that was a little happy accident. So I love sola wood flowers and I love crafting with them. I love creating different colors with them. But for this project, I'm going to use just the plain and the wood flowers themselves. And what I like to do is take some skewers from the Dollar Tree. I put a little bit of hot glue on the end of the flower, and then I stick a piece of skewer in. And what I do with the skewers when I'm trimming them is I make sure that I cut them on an angle so each end has a little bit of a point, makes it easier to push into the bottom of the flower and also into the craft foam. This is one of those little wooden crates you can get from the Dollar Tree. And what I did was just pull off the back end so it has the same shape as my wheelbarrow. I wanted to be able to add some of the sola flowers to the end of the wheelbarrow so you wouldn't see the little crate. But I'm not going to be gluing the crate into the wheelbarrow. I want this to be able to be removed so I can switch out whatever I have in this little wheelbarrow. And I just thought that would be perfect because I'm always trying to change things up a little bit here and there. So I thought that would be fun. Now I'm just going to start poking the flowers into the floral foam until I get the look that I'm going for. And what I am going for is a really nice rounded mound of flowers. I love to add little bits of greenery here and there in between the sola flowers. It just makes it look a little more natural and a little bit more of a pop of color. Here's how this one turned out and how I styled it. thanks for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you enjoyed these trash to stunning treasure projects and got some inspiration to check out the thrift store for some of the wood things that they have. You never know what you're gonna find. See you in the next one.